All right, so moving on from Netflix, let's go to, well, Amazon Prime slash CBS All Access with season one of Star Trek Picard. So
Right.
before we go in, well, I want you to do the synopsis of it, right? So I'll confess something. I while I like you grew up on Star Trek: The Next Generation, I never actually watched the series, right? I just knew that it was on TV. I would see bits and pieces of it on TV. I would see characters. Who I'll later realize, oh, it's this person, this actor,
Right.
that actor, right? But I never knew like everything about it, right? And actually along with the original series, like I have that on my to watch list because yeah, like I'm not a Trekkie, right? But I have
Right.
seen a majority of the movies, but which I've enjoyed for the most part. But I never saw Star Trek Nemesis, which in your case, Ricardo, is probably one of the top five worst movie going experiences of your life, right? I remember like the criticism for that being so negative, so I just never bothered to watch it, right? But
Right.
this show here pretty much follows 20 years, I believe it is, after the events of that film, right? Which is quite
Right. Right.
interesting. But also too with that, well, this point again is that going into this show here because I was just curious to see it because this is right after season two of Star Trek Discovery, right? Which I've
Right.
actually enjoyed, mainly
Right.
because I don't have to do a sort of legwork and remember this character, that character. It's
Right.
just okay.
Exactly.
This is what happened before the original series, but it borrows a lot from J.J. Abrams' trilogy,
It
which
does.
I enjoy for the most part, right? But yeah, this
Right.
one going in, well, Picard, I went in like, okay, I even though I'm not familiar with the next generation, I know the tone, I know the vibe, I know the feel of it, I know the character Jean-Luc Picard, I know how big a deal he is. I kind of learned that through the movies featuring him, right? But
Right.
what I was a little fearful of, and I'm glad that it didn't really take away my enjoyment of the show. Really, is that oh well, I don't know this character, so I don't get the context, so I don't know this reference, so I don't get this right. Luckily,
Right.
the
Right.
show didn't take away from it too much, even though there are a lot of callbacks to not just
Yeah.
Nemesis, but
I
just the Star Trek universe as a whole.
Right. So I was wondering. Here's my thing. If it doesn't require you to, okay, it have so before we start, I'll just, well, it for me is the exact opposite in your case, right? I am a massive turkey, right? I could quote scene and which episode. I'm one of those, right? Like
Right.
you remember Jodie and Data had this conversation in episode two, season two of episode this and that bullshit, right? So I'm that guy, right?
Yeah,
And
that's cool. That's cool.
right. And so with Picard, I was a little worried if it was gonna rely on nostalgia a little too much.
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
As it is. Now here's what Picard does. Picard kind of needs you to be ignorant of not so much Star Trek, but another science fiction franchise. Very popular science fiction franchise in the interim since Star Trek kind of went out of favor for a lot of people. But we'll talk about that, right? So
I think I know what you're talking about, right? But yeah, go ahead.
So let's talk about Picard and why I'm just gonna get into the what well I'll cover the bad, what I think is good, and even though I don't think it's an outright failure, I really felt they could have done better, and it made some very big narrative sins for me personally. Uh,
Okay, okay. Because one thing I was worried about is the progression of characters and teams and stuff like
right,
that. I was worried that
yeah,
were they logical? Do they make sense now, or they could have just
it
taught it up some more?
yeah it does, but I'll explain why I think it made some really big narrative sins for me, some big ones, like real big ones, but
Okay, okay, yeah,
but overall, I still thought it was fine. Like ultimately, I
right.
still thought it was a fine first season. It's just one of those. It had the same kind of problems of Discovery, which is Discovery for me as a show. I generally defend Discovery, but my problem with Discovery is that they have a bunch of good ideas and then they'll add on a bunch of extra things that don't really work or gel with those good ideas. Right. So here's a simple example to understand how I think about the how I think you should write something and how Discovery does it and why I don't like how Discovery does it. Here's a simple example.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Michael Burnham is a human that is the ward of a Vulcan, right? I
Right.
think that's a great idea. That's a great idea for a character. We really never really had a character like that before. Great. But the problem is that they decide, okay, well, not only we're gonna do that, but we're gonna also make her the adoptive sister of Spock and make her directly closer to Spock. That doesn't work,
Yeah,
right?
but
I hate
why? Why though? Why?
exactly. I hate that. Don't
Yeah,
need to make her, because to me, you can just have her just be. It just should be just a Vulcan adopter. That's it. You don't need to
yeah,
connect it to anything we already know. It just kind of clumsy because when you do that now, you're giving yourself extra work by bringing in this old character, but then you have to square the continuity now.
right.
It's
Well, here's
the
here's
problem.
one argument I'll make though. Before you get into what the season was about, it kind of reminds me of like something like what like an Arrowverse or some TV show based off like a comic book series would do, where they have to always tie it back to the source material. You know what I mean? To have people
No,
like,
no, you
oh,
see,
okay, wow,
like
and nah, you know what I
guys,
mean? They have to kind of make it more
case
true to home by making the character be related somehow, relevant somehow to some
no, but see, like,
bigger original
yeah,
character now.
because Star Trek is bounded on narrative, you can't just do your own thing. You have to say no. You have to make sense of it as it is. Because with them comic book stories, all of them is like a different universe anyway. You know, Picard now, uh, it builds from the events of the last time we see Picard and them in the Federation. This is Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah.
The death of Data.
Hmm.
He gets blew up in one of the stupidest things ever because they just basically rip off Ratakan, but whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so now time passes 20 years, and Picard have to apparently deal with the daughter of Data. Right? I'll
Yes.
address this when I talk about the first episode back we went, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
And
remember.
so now they kind of have to go on an adventure to figure out what's going on because that girl dies, but there's a twin, and now they have to like link it to this larger story and big sci-fi conceit that's going on in the storyline involving Romulans and involving the Borg and involving all these extra things, and it have all these plot lines and devices. And I would argue that if you're kind of, it's one of those things I can't tell if you're ignorant of the series and the material, it does one thing that I don't like it. Now, this is the small sin. This is not the big sin, which is too much nostalgia. Right? I don't
Oh,
like
okay.
Picard because, yeah, it does bad nostalgia, a lot of bad nostalgia. It does some good nostalgia. Right? It does like the stuff with 719, I thought was good. But then they decided to do a bunch of bad nostalgia, which is like referencing this thing and referencing that thing. And then the back and forth, like it had 2 episodes with Riker and Troy, which I hated. And
Okay, well,
I
let's stop you for a bit, right? One thing that okay, like while okay, the moments with Riker with Knights, right? But at the end of it all, I was like, but wait, this so okay, so the girl that's okay, Picard have to protect. They suddenly have to go onto this planet, right? So they come, they talk, they eat, and then they just leave. So that whole
well, I
episode was just
think
really like just coming to visit a friend
yeah,
or something. I was wondering.
right.
I can swear
I
that
guess
the planet that Riker was on was important to what's going on with the Gilna, but it's like not really.
it was just they needed help, so they went to a friend. I get that. That's fine. They went to a friend. They went to the place that they need a cool down. With all that stress and run about, so they went to a friend. I don't have a problem with that. Even though the plot device they used to get to there is a whole clumsy thing. Again, it does a lot of stuff. Like if you remember stuff from Voyager, that was a thing in Voyager. It have a bunch of stuff from Voyager. They kill off characters who you remember from TNG, which I was on the fence about, but again, they're just trying to be all dark and serious.
Yeah, which I
Um,
feel was a big criticism with this, right? Like
right,
I don't know,
right,
like I just comparing this to something like Discovery, right? So they say like
right,
this series is rather dark as far as Star Trek
right,
goes, or I guess the stuff involving Picard, but we
right,
had Nemesis, right? So I don't know. Moving on.
right. So that's the thing. All right. So again, so I'm just gonna mention like why I had a big problem with what I call the big sin. So here's the
Uh,
big sin it does. All right. So a lot of people is complaining about the world building and how things got from point A to point B in this new timeline. Well, in this new time with Picard being all old and whatnot. Uh, the idea of well, why is that this happened and why does that this happen? There is a novel, and you now see the problem, right? There is a
uh-huh.
novel that explains everything. Now, this novel actually explains everything quite well, but that's the fucking problem. I have to read the novel to know what's going on. So, like, they explain, like, okay, one of the big things is they will never Bruce Maddox back. So, there's a character called Bruce Maddox, who's this guy, who's this big cybernetics guy back in the days. He is a
Right.
character he was a character in TNG. He was in one episode, and he basically wanted to turn Data into, he wanted to break down Data and destroy him because he didn't think Data was a person, and Picard had to prove that Data was a person, right?
Right.
In a court. Great episode. It's an episode called The Measure of a Man. So in the storyline, they say, well, they will never make a they will never copy Data or copy androids to make a slave race. But then we see that in this, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what they do.
Right. Now, people who complain about that, there's a book, a Star Trek book called Last Best Hope, which explains that. It does a very good explanation as to why that happened, in my opinion. At least a satisfactory explanation. But again, you need a book to tell me that. Guys, I hate that shit. You see that? Put that information in the story, please. Don't tell me this book to make sense of this. They had a comic too there's a comic that also bridges the in between that actually explains a lot. Again, you have to put that in the material. That is my problem. And the way how Star Trek tells the story, because I thought the pacing was so slow,
I felt it was. Admittedly, it was. Yeah. But you see, here's the thing. Well, sorry to cut you. Here's the thing. Like I was, because once again, I'm not familiar with Next Generation. I was telling myself mentally, okay, I guess this is the vibe they're going for. Okay, where it's not always reliant on action. It's about drama. It's about character moments. Okay, I could get into it, but it's 56 episodes. Sorry, it's 56 minutes long. It's 44 minutes long, and there's ever so often you'll get like one scene of action, and then you get drawn out stuff like why? That's my thing.
I agree. It was slow. It was slow in a bad way. You're right.
Yeah.
It was slow in a bad way. And
they wanted to evoke the feel of the original show, but they just didn't know how to do it. So they had to do that while at the same time kind of give people the stuff that they expect from what they loved from Discovery, right? Which was the somewhat quick pace, right? So yeah.
Right, exactly. But it have the exact opposite of Discovery in terms of pacing. Like Discovery have a problem with pacing being too fast. This one pacing too slow.
Oh, right.
But
yeah, it does.
That's the motion picture problem, right? You know, anybody familiar with the motion picture and why the motion picture doesn't really work as a film, for me at least, is that the film is too slow, and it equates slowness with intelligence somehow or contemplativeness. And like, no, it's just slow. Like, sorry, it's just slow.
I remember that was like a big legendary reason, you know what I mean, why people dump on that particular movie now because of how slow it is.
Right, exactly. And this have the same problem, like especially those first 5 or 6 episodes where it's like, wow, this would have real. Now here's the thing. This is where the big big sin and the small sin kind of intertwine. If they put all the material that was in the books, or at least a good bit of the material in the books, to bridge together what was going on in the storyline, in this better, it would have been fine. It would have justified the 10 episodes. But to me, because the 10 episodes could have cut a bunch of shit in it, and it would have still tell the story just as well. I think this could have been six episodes, or even like 7 or 6 episodes, in my opinion. Like in terms of how to frame it and piece it out, and what you're doing and what you're seeing. So I just find it to work at all in that sense, no. But then they have a bunch of things in it that again is one of those things that so I'm gonna spoil what it is that they rely you to be ignorant of. You have to be completely ignorant of the Mass Effect franchise to think this is a
prior to us meeting online, I actually checked out a review. Jeremy Jant, actually, who's a big Trekkie, by the way, did a spoiler review of this, and he did mention, like anybody did notice that Mass Effect moment.
Like the whole story was like that, right? Like when I was marginally familiar with the story, so I'm watching this and it's like, they're gonna lead a Mass Effect kind of storyline then. Guys were just coming across like everything is about AI this and AI that, and I'm like, but that's sounding a little Mass Effect. And then in the end, holy shit, they're just so cool, like what they do with one of these things, with one of the plot devices. Like, that's just straight up out of Mass Effect, but goddamn. I was like, all right, that's kind of annoying. Anyway, so they just get into like just the run through of the narrative, right? So Picard is on Earth. He leaves Earth to meet this. Well, he meets his character called Raffi. That was his former XO. He meets a new character called Rios. He's the owner of the ship called La Serena. And the big thing about him is that he kind of follow on existential type, but he also has a bunch of holograms on the ship that also represent like parts of his personality or consciousness.
Yeah, which I like. I was a little on the fence at first, like, he's gonna do the Harrison Wells thing where this actor's playing different versions of himself. But then there's one episode where you see like different versions of himself, kind of contemplating about why Rios is the way he is. It's like, okay, this work, yeah. Anyway, go on.
Right. Yeah, no, I thought that worked. Like all of the holograms together was working together. I thought that was like I liked what I was because it was a pretty interesting thing. And in Trek universe, we all like if you're familiar with Voyager, holograms also are capable of being intelligent as well via the character called the Doctor. Not only AI machines, not only androids as we understand them. So I thought they was going to go with that too. That was a big dimension. I thought they would go with that, but they didn't do that. Then we get to think. Then we go again, very like Mass Effect. We go to a planet to bring in a character which I don't like at all. This is the character of
Oh
Elnor.
boy. Oh boy.
He does not look. I'm sorry, he's just Space Ninja. If you know a character called Kyling from Mass Effect 3, he just feels like Kyling from Mass Effect 3. Right? It's Space Ninja.
As you see Space Ninja, right? If you're a martial arts head, right? If you're familiar with like stuff like Five Deadly Venoms or Return of the Five Deadly Venoms, right? There's a guy who is called Golden Arms, right? The man have that legit look down, Dred. That
Right.
old school wuxia warrior type, the hairdo, the clothing, the look of his face, his facial features. He comes straight out of a Chinese martial arts film. That's all I had to say. And every time I saw him, every time he spoke, it's like, yeah, you out of a kung fu flick, bro.
Yeah. But I just find this character to look. Here's the problem: they already had a character that was already a badass that was helping out Picard, already knowledgeable of the Talchia because she was a former Talchia. This is the character of Laris, and I felt she could have stayed with him instead of bringing in Elnor. I find Elnor as a character don't work at all. If it was up to me, I'd just outright cut him from the script.
Yeah, I as I say, Laris, they never really get back to she in the end of this though. Like, okay, he just left her. He went on the adventure. And what did she? Where's she at?
Exactly, but she and Zaban in the beginning, they just stayed back just to protect her to run Chateau Picard, which is fine. But to me, I find she could have go with him and then have Jaban just run Chateau Picard by himself. That would have been fine. Right. But to me, they already had to be so knowledgeable of what's going on now. So it's like, all right, well, what the hell?
You're right.
We know she could fight and she's an action person too. So it's like, why I find Elnor as a character don't work. Like, I get why they try to bring in Elnor because he's like supposed to be like a kind of son to Picard. But because he and Patrick Stewart already have the best chemistry, in my opinion.
No, they don't.
Every other character worked for the most part. I thought what they did with Rafi, I thought she was okay, especially when you find out about her son. That was okay. And why she's the way she is. The two evil twins don't work for me either. That is what's she name by
the two villains basically Narissa and it's Narissa and Narek. Narissa and Narek.
Right.
Yeah.
Narissa and Narek.
Well, Narissa was real to me. She just came off like slightly not harming, but just like, okay, this is a sci-fi show. We have to have that big bad evil supervillain, and she was playing that doll like that. And then Narek is like, okay, you could trust me, but you don't trust me, because they had this thing with him having this relationship with the girl. Well, her name is Soji, right? And it's like, oh well, you could trust me, and then afterwards he do a thing, and it's like, dog, why? And it's like, oh well, I did this because this other thing is happening, but he's just basically trying to acquire information from Soji does, but then he comes in there at the end trying to help them out, and once again, you don't know what happened to him. What happened to him in the end? I don't know.
Here's the problem. The problem with the two of them is because they didn't really do anything interesting with the Borg. Well, the ex-Borg, basically.
Yeah.
They didn't really, latch onto the main story particularly well. They just keep some across like a kind of side plot. But the ending addresses that kind of, because the character who I thought wouldn't have stayed in the series is staying in the series, 7 of 9. Right?
Yes.
7 of 9 is one of the main characters of, she's one of the main characters of Voyager, but I really thought she'd just have like a one-off, two-off episodes, so apparently she's a permanent part of the story, which I liked, because now they could actually do stuff with the X-Borg and make it interesting.
Well, one thing though, I do like the fact that you're bringing in old and new characters together to form their own, crew now, basically. I like that. And it's touching on Voyager and, Next Generation and stuff like that. That's cool.
Right. Yeah. So they bring in a new thing. Then they bring in this character. Well, one of the main characters from the beginning, a character called Agnes Jurati. She is an okay character for me. She's like
so often she would piss people off, but because she does things that at first you're like, why? But then they kind of reveal why. You're like, oh, okay. Kinda, I guess. Right.
the kind of the comic reliefy kind of dotish character, and then well they halfway play it well in terms of she pretended to be dotish, but then she up to no good, and she doing this, that, or the other, wherever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then they reveal the big plot line with this group called the Jat Vash and what is Jat Vash about. And again, if it wasn't so Mass Effect, I wouldn't have mind. Because it really rely on you being a Mass Effect, like you not knowing anything about the Mass Effect. That's the problem. So it feel like that. But whatever. Mass Effect is another space opera that borrow a lot from Star Trek, so it's like fine, I suppose. But it was too much like Mass Effect. That's the problem. It didn't feel like they had this stamp on it. It just feel like Mass Effect fan fiction. That would feel like. That it didn't really feel interesting.
Which a Star Trek show shouldn't be.
That's the problem. Anyway, I'm mostly fine with it. I just think it could have been either shorter, or if it's the 10 episodes, you bring in the stuff from the novel and the comic to justify the length a little better. I thought the pacing was pretty bad for what it was. I didn't really care for that. The final episode, we had to talk about the final episode. And then it does give a rating quick, right?
Yeah, right? There I would say it just to interrupt for a sec. There were some nice moments in it, like nice emotional beats in it. And I was telling myself, okay, I think they're gonna do the thing because I heard there's gonna be a second season, so they're gonna kind of fake us out with this thing and then come back with this. And they do the thing, right? And then I tell myself, okay, like I could understand going forward how they could explore this thing, the idea of one's consciousness and how it's expiration date and all that kind of stuff and that kind of thing, you know what I mean? And tie it back to Picard and Data and their relationship and all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious to see where they go next with it. But at the same time, I was like, I wonder how the fans would treat this, you know what I mean? Because let me admit it, this is something that could have happened at the end of Nemesis, not in this show 20 years later, the scene.
Right. So they decided to go with, two things. Well, Picard's body dies effectively because he had this brain problem that he didn't really address and upload his consciousness into our body, but they make the body just like him again. Okay.
Yeah, because
you have to be like
that's why. Because duh.
Right, fine. Whatever, fine. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But then they do the big thing at the end, in which the real fake out was the quote unquote real death of Data this time. Because Data's consciousness was alive the entire time inside this machine effectively. Where
call it a hard drive kinda.
But the thing is it's not unprecedented in Trek universe. This has happened before. We've seen this happen before, so it's not like there's an episode called Schizoid Man, I think, that's season 2, I think, where a guy uploads his mind into Data, and then they upload his mind back into some other machine to live out its life. So that's basically what they did with him. So whatever.
So that moment in particular, that final moment with Picard and Data was beautiful. Like I didn't legit care about that night, but I was like, this is fitting. This is the way it needs to go.
One of those things, this is one of those things that you felt should have been in Nemesis.
I said, this could have been a better way to end that show. That movie, sir.
So it's coming across like, the real death of Data this time, kind of thing. Like, this is how you really kill off Data instead of doing that lazy bullshit that they do, right? But then the final action sequence was kind of dotish because, it was an action sequence. So, I have another character called Commodore O. She was the head of the Jat Vash who wanted to wipe them out. And then
I like to her look there. You know what I mean? She just had that old school, threatening, authoritative look about her. But coming out to the end, it's like, I don't think you really thought this thing out well enough.
Right. Anyway, So the final action sequence I really thought was just kind of clumsy, and I felt they could have write that a little better. They decided to basically bring a sonic screwdriver into the plot line. Holy shit! And this thing just pissed me off. It's like, wow, they have a device that fixes everything instead of just doing a normal way to fix everything. They have this thing that could solve all problems somehow. I'm like, what? What?
That took me out of it. As you bring up sonic as you brought up the term sonic screwdriver, because I haven't seen Doctor Who in a long while, right? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it just kind of comes like, hey, here's this one little item you're gonna need for the final episode. Here you go. All
they had to do, to me, it was a bit more interesting to say, okay, we fixed the ship, but we can't do this. And I felt, one thing that bothered me is that to me it didn't have a natural logical, like it didn't feel thematically logical from what they wanted to do, because they did a big thing that was a big fan thing in the storyline, which I liked, which is something called the Picard maneuver, right?
Ah,
So
yes,
in
yes, yes.
Right, so in Trek, the Picard maneuver is when you walk twice, when you do like a kind of short warp kind of thing, and what it does do it is cause like a kind of image to make it look like you have two ships in one place now. Two ships in two separate places, but it's the same
Yeah,
ship, so you don't know which one to shoot at. And they, in this case, they decide to say use the sonic screwdriver to make a bunch of like hologram copies of the ship to fool them, which is fine. Here's the problem: the sonic screwdriver part. Because to me, what would have been more interesting is if they just had the holograms come back online to help out Picard, because he do not operate the ship all that well, right?
right.
And they could have been the logical end of saying, oh, we could do this hologram thing to do the holograms of the ship, because we're already holograms and we can understand holograms. And not only you can make a hologram of Rios, but you can make holograms everything. And it'll probably just burn out the ship or something like that. But no, they just had this magical sonic screwdriver to solve the problem, which I hated.
Yeah,
Then
I
like
think they just kind of run out of ideas. Like, like,
yeah,
we have to get these scripts done in time. So here's what, let me just call with a magic device that does this thing. Here you go, boom.
yeah, it just felt super clumsy, like super super clumsy. And I don't know, like we go and show back up in season 2 as another thing, like whatever. Then Riker comes to the rescue with a bunch of ships. This was again, I don't hate it, it's just the editing and the pacing just make it look bad now. So it would have been more interesting if Riker just show up with a handful of ships. Like if you just show up with like 8 ships, that would have been cool, because like Romulan ships couldn't hold up against these 8 real strong ships now, because nobody Romulans don't have a civilization anymore. So what ships
Right,
they had weren't that powerful, right? So
right.
8 ships could more outclass like how many shitty little Romulan ships they have, right? That would have been more interesting. But no, he come back with this big fleet of ships, and I just feel in terms of the framing of it looked terrible, because all the ships look identical to each other.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Blatantly,
that's
yeah.
I mean,
I
look,
know
it's
what again that, like, we want to show that, oh, you think you have rail ships? Well, look at me, look, I have rail ships, and the audience supposed
right,
to go way, but no,
right.
not really.
Yeah, and
It was clearly a crowd pleasing moment. That's why they did it. That's the point.
they try, but I find it just come across as clumsy, and all the ships is the same kind of thing, and that just it again, it's just more pacing on how to do it and whatever. If you enjoy this, fine. I am one of those that just felt they could have framed it up better. It's not a bad idea or bad scene. It's just all the same ships looking identical. Like that's not how Trek has come across now. Whatever.
Right, right, right.
But Riker helped out in the ending, and then they closed the Mass Effect hole. The Reapers from Mass Effect basically. Which
Ah,
I hated. I hated those things, that whole plot. I'm glad that they didn't do it. Like they didn't go through it as a plot line, so it's fine. I don't know. I could see why a lot of people won't like the show. I find for a first season of a new Trek show, it's fine. It's better than Voyager's first season, better than TNG's first season, even better than Discovery's first season. So it was fine as a story, but I just felt it just had so many dumb little clumsy mistakes that I wish they could have just change and fix, and they just run through the script one more time. I think that's my problem with this. Like they don't get one of the reasons why Trek worked so well back in the past. It's because they just used to just rewrite the scripts a lot. Like Trek had like about 4 or 5 rewrites before they started shooting anything. Like most Trek scripts. So that's why they
right.
mostly Trek scripts so well. But if they didn't do that, then you would have come up with kind of a lot of weak scripts or terrible scripts. And that's exactly what happened in here, I feel. And like they just not giving the scripts a run through. And they just say, all right, they don't know what to cut or when to cut stuff or how to cut it. So the stuff just not flowing very well. And that's my problem.
Right.
6 out
Well,
of 10.
well, before I get to rated, well, you already say it, but just
Yeah.
wanna just run through my quick review for this, because yeah, like I
Yeah.
say, I'm still a newbie, and I hope to rectify that this year by actually watching these old, the older Star Wars the older Star Trek shows, right? So
Right.
as a show, I dug it for what it was. I dug it for what it was trying to be. I felt like they were really trying to evoke the feel of the next generation, where it's less reliant on flashiness and action and stuff like that, and more on story and characters and diplomacy and and peace and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, well, Patrick Stewart, knocked it out the park once again. I mean, he is Jean-Luc Picard true and
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Even when they give
Yeah.
him some kind of corny lines to deliver, he still delivers them well. I felt his emotional journey. Even though admittedly I forgot early on that they did mention that there was something wrong with his brain. Basically, and they just brought it up in
Right.
episode 8. Like, oh, this is a thing now. And it's like, oh wow, why wasn't this up thing early on? You know what I mean? But then you
Well,
kind of
right.
thinking
So
about
again,
his journey and how he meted up people that he knew from the
right,
past. Basically, like, okay, this is like one last ride before I die. Basically, right? So
right,
I could look at it in that way. Him, just the fact that they brought back some old characters worked for me because it's like, okay, well, it's not just about Next Generation, it's about Voyager, I guess, Deep Space Nine and stuff like that. So it kind of
right.
connects all the other shows that still have a strong fan base. You know what I mean? The music by Jeff Russo, I thought fit the show well enough. You know what I mean? I actually thought the theme song was really nice and beautiful. You know what I mean? Really, really laid back and just calm and meditative. Now, acting was good for the most part. I actually dug the girl who played the android, or I should say
So yeah.
what you call them by synths. Yeah,
Well,
the
right,
Sid
right.
twins, yeah, the android Sid twins basically. I thought she was cool. But yeah, I do agree with you. The guy who pretty much is the Robin Lund ninja basically was kind of felt out of place. There's even a
Yeah,
moment where he's like, go on without me, I'll hold them off. And I was like, why
yeah,
do it? And usually one complaint about he left you, and all of a sudden it's like, no, go away. And then he legit come and
yeah. It
say,
was
well,
confusing.
my motivation has changed, just like yours. Like, come on, right? Yeah, I do agree with you that yes, it is rather slow, right? But once again, I was thinking, oh, this is how it's supposed to be because it's about Picard and it's about his emotional journey and it's about reflection and memory and appreciating stuff. But at the same time, it's like y'all y'all have this bigger story going on, so kind of pick it up. Though. Like we get it. He's old and
Right.
he's reminiscing and all that kind of stuff again, but still kind of pick it up, right? But I really can't wait to see what they do in the next season. But that's if we do get one. I know it was greenlit. Um, but I would like to just look up other videos and like Jeremy John's one and see where the show fell apart. There. So stuff that I kind of appreciate. People might be like, well, still, and just the how they connect to other episodes, right? Like I didn't know, like just characters were and certain situations appear in certain episodes and stuff like that, right? But yeah, I mean, for what it was, it's fine. It's not the best show I've ever seen out there. It's a nice variation on the whole Star Trek Discovery slash revamping of the series, make it more modern and fresh for a younger audience. It feels like it
Right.
caters to the older heads, so older heads might rock back and really enjoy it. But at the same time, it's not like the older heads are like really old people, so you can kind of pick up the pace a bit, right? And I hope they do that with the next season. So, rating
Right.
wise, I'll give this a light. I'll give this a strong 3 to a very light 3.5 out of 5. It's worth checking out. I guess if you're Trekkie, this is a must see. But yeah, I imagine just like you, Ricardo, you will have issues with it. But
Yeah.
I am curious to just watch other videos and see where they fell,
I just
where they
felt,
dropped the ball.
I, yeah, I don't think it failed or anything like that because you'll have people who say do this or do that, but it did because the problem is because everything relied on that book for it to make sense.
Right.
Um, I just because the book actually explains stuff much better. In terms of like, well, why this happened? How come this happened? Where was Bruce Maddox and all of this? And all the typical nerd questions. Now it answers most, if not all of that. Problem is that well, it's in a book. I have to read a book. Like, and I hate that
Exactly.
shit.
And why do we have to like tell
Yeah,
us the
that's the
stuff
problem.
that went to tell
Star
us
Wars, Star Wars do
kind
this
of
all the
cover the
time.
book in like the first 2 episodes or something, please?
Right. Star Wars does that a lot. Star Trek does it as well. Like Star Trek Into the Darkness did it. Like they had a whole comic explaining why Khan was a white guy this time for some reason. And
Really?
it's just like why make him a
Why? Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's just
what was sorry, well, I was gonna say you could just call your rating again because I cut you
yeah.
off.
No, as I say, a 6 out of 10. But my thing is that it was one of those. It have a bunch of mistakes that was so easily avoidable, in my opinion. That's just me. Whatever. It's a Monday morning quarterbacking on my part, but I just felt I'd have cut this out. It have a bunch of things. Like one of these guys, one of those diner that have a thousand cuts problems. It has all these little small little dumb things that you'd have tie better into the story. Why the Borg was here, they could have make them a little more relevant. How to make this, land better, whatever it is, right? That's all it is. Just a lot of the beats don't work. and it's just mostly editing and pacing problems. Pacing problems was like the main issue I had. Big
Yeah, yeah.
main,
Well, same here too. Pearson
main,
was
main.
a bitch in this way.
Yeah, that's just the main issue with it. But that's about it. I don't hate it, but I felt they could have done better. This is one of those just a disappointment, but not this is bullshit kind of thing. It just I felt they could have just be a little more conscientious and think it out better. I didn't get that at all from this. And that's the thing with guys like Michael Chabon as writers. I think he's a good writer, but he's not a good Star Trek writer. He's one of those,
Okay,
right?
I
Where
see.
yeah, because this is material. I think he's a pretty good writer for what it is, but he just, for whatever reason, he just can't line up track in his head particularly well. I think. I think that's always come across to me because I felt I could have liked this, but I could have liked this a lot more than what I
Right.
got. So that's
Well.
yeah.
One more question. Well, just one statement and then one question to ask you, right? I will say, because of this show, I feel that was high time for me to jump into the world of the Star Trek series, basically. Because, like I say,
Um,
I've seen the movies, but well,
right.
except for the last one, well, except for Nemesis, sorry. But I think I should finally jump into the original series and the next
Right.
generation and stuff like that, right? But now the question
Right.
to ask you is that well, I know that there are some other Star Trek shows lined up. I'm not sure if we have an idea what they are about or whatnot. But you have any faith in them seeing what we've gotten so far with Discovery and
Yeah.
Picard?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm in the camp that does. As I said, I do defend Discovery, but I'll say Discovery have my problem with Discovery, and we're going to get into the future shows. So I think there's 4 shows coming. At least the rumor is that there are 4 new shows coming. Right? The 4 shows are it's 2 animated shows and 2 live-action shows. The 2 animated shows are I forget the actual name of it, but it's an animated show for Nickelodeon, like for very young audiences. Supposed to be 3D. Um, the second animated show is for adults, a young adult show that's supposed to be like in the same vein as Rick and Morty, called the Lower Decks, and
Uh-huh.
it's one of the creators of Rick and Morty as well.
Okay,
Supposed to be
that'll
involved in
be
it.
really
So,
interesting. Yeah.
right, I want to see if they can make it work and have the humor there. Then the 2 live action shows is something akin to Starfleet Academy show. I heard is rumored. That's a rumor. I have no idea if this is a fact, but I heard that's what they were going to announce in Comic-Con. Well, before this COVID-19 shenanigans, and I think that is what we would have gotten. And then there's the show that everybody think that should exist is basically a Captain Pike show, right? A show based on the Star Trek 1701 ship. And that was like, again, one of my critiques of Discovery is that season 2 shouldn't have existed the way it was, because the way season 2, even though I had fun with season 2 just come across like a filler season in an anime.
Right.
Animes is always a clumsy way of like trying to gap together stuff that don't happen in the
Yeah.
manga.
I know.
Right. So to me, the sport drive should have been the reason they go to the future. But no, they just come up with a whole plot line and then come up with a bullshit reason as to why they go in the future with a wormhole instead. Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And then I keep saying that if they didn't do this and it got to me, I keep saying that it was much more elegant to put them in the future from season 1, because it hits the ground running of what the story show is about. And it would have centered on the sport drive as a plot device. Season 2 felt like I keep saying it. Season 2 is an extended ad for the 1701 show. That is what they did intentionally. They say, look, we need to get it to like Captain Pike and hype you over the show that coming. We're not just gonna drop Captain Pike on you. We're gonna make you watch Captain Pike for a season so you're accustomed to him and you like him, and then they're gonna sell the show. That is an ad. Season 2 for Discovery is an ad for the 1701 show, in my opinion. That's how I see
Right.
that.
Right.
Anyway, they did a promo for the Discovery season 3, so that's that. So there's 4 shows coming extra with Discovery, and then hopefully, I'm not sure what's going on with Picard. I heard a bunch of rumors about Picard where they might bring back Cisco and they might bring back Q for some reason. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're going to go with. Whatever. That's it. I mean, look, Picard is a slight disappointment, not a big disappointment. I don't think it's complete dog shit or anything like that. But I felt they could have tied stuff and make it come together and gel together a little better. It just didn't gel together all too well. So that's just my final take on Picard. Not the worst thing ever. It's fine. As for you as a fan to go watch back TNG and TOS and thing, boy, TOS might be a hard unfair, but there's some legit great episodes. TNG, boy, them first 2 seasons rough as hell. Yeah, them first 2 seasons were hell rough. But from season 3 onward, it's pretty good stuff. Like I find 3, 4, 5, and 6 is solid Trek. Like really good Trek. Have a few bad episodes in between, of course, but like season 3, 4, 5, and 6 in Trek, and then 7 they kind of run out of ideas. And then DS9 is a show that you had to be into in terms of like a linearity. I love DS9 personally, but I'm not sure if you might like DS9, but I love DS9 personally.
Right.
So that is the one I recommend. And then Voyager, right? That is, in my opinion, I think Voyager is still the worst of Trek. In my opinion, I think Voyager just a lot of Voyager doesn't work. It has good episodes in Voyager, but Voyager just never come together. Voyager had the same problem that say Discovery has now. Is that whole you have a premise, but you're not doing the premise well, or at least you're not leading into your premise properly. You know, because you're kind of confused. You know, it's a kind of confused writer's room. So whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
okay, cool. All right.